Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a little gastronomy trip into the Yucatan in Mexico. Okay guys, so we think we know everything about Mexican food. If you are from the US, you have kind of the staples there of what you think is Mexican food, but Mexico is actually a hub of all kinds of incredible dining experiences, especially the street food and from the food that you could buy at the restaurants in the different markets in each town. So I'm gonna show you some very different foods from Mexico. These are from the Yucatan. We have been in Merida for a couple of months and we have had the opportunity of really learning about all of these and really how different they are from any of the other Mexican food that we've had in any of the other states, from Mexico City to Quintana Roo, all the way over to Tecate and Tijuana, and everything in between. This is a completely different experience as far as food. So let's jump right in. And so first off, let's talk about the classic when you think of Mexican food, and that is a taco. So tacos in the US, they usually serve with a crunchy shell, and it's just the corn tortillas, and they just do the little U shape and they put the meat in. So here it is typically served with two corn tortillas, because they're really thin and very soft. They're fresh made. They make them right there, and the meat is they don't usually use ground meat to put into very many of their products. We'll talk about that in just a second as well. But the topping is generally onions, cooked or raw, and some coleslaw or cabbage kind of cut up, and then the meat kind of chopped up. And so it's not served with it doesn't come with cheese. They don't generally put cheese on tacos, but what they do is they give you this onion, and it's like pickled onion, and that's what you put on the taco. So we're gonna put some right there. We're gonna take a bite of this, and it is a totally different food experience than what you think of when you think of tacos. So let's take a quick bite here. See, the pickled onion gives it a really different flavor. It's really quite good. Now, finish chewing. Before we get too far, I'm gonna be using this to wash down some of the food. So this is a green beverage of some sort. So let's talk about what's in here. This is, the green that you see is Chaya. So this is Chaya with pineapple. And it's a fresh juice, and it looks like they've just taken like an old water bottle and just filled it. But these are sealed, and each restaurant generally makes these natural waters right there at the restaurant, and lots of them, especially the ones in the market, you can see them just working on the juices, on the fresh juices right out of the juicer right there in front of you at the restaurant. So that's really cool. So this is pineapple with Chaya, and Chaya is basically it's almost like a weed, but it's known as like a tree spinach. It's a big leaf, and it grows kind of all over the place. So they found that it actually has some great benefits to it, medical benefits and nutritional benefits. So they use it a lot in their cooking, and it grows mainly in the Yucatan. So you're not going to see a lot of Chaya in other parts of the country unless they're shipping it across. So that's kind of cool. But that's what I'm using to wash down the food. It's pineapple and Chaya mixed in this water. So it's like a healthy juice, natural juice. Now, here's another kind of taco, and this one, again, you've got the shell, which is corn tortilla, and this one in particular has pork in it. And they do eat a lot of pork in Yucatan, which I found really interesting. And they roast it, and sometimes they even cook it outside, like over a fire outside. But again, you're gonna find the onions here, and then you can also put the pickled onions too. And you've got salsa. These are bagged up. This is actually how you get it if you get a to-go order. We got to go since we were getting so much food. But they also, with the pork, cochinita, they also have the outside shell of the skin of the pork, and it's crunchy. And they put you put a piece of that in there as well to enjoy. So let's take a little bit of the pickled onion, and we're gonna wrap that up almost like a little burrito, and we're gonna put a little piece of this in here, and let's enjoy it. And this is only one shell. Usually they put two. Oh, that is so good. You do not want to miss out on that. So good. All right, so those are tacos basically in the Yucatan. Now, empanadas are basically in Mexico. Just about all of the shells are made with corn. Okay, so because there's so much of it, and it's just in their cooking, in their cuisine often. So you're gonna find almost everything has a corn shell to it. So these are empanadas. They've got the same shape of empanadas that you would see in other Latin countries, but this is corn, and in a lot of other Latin countries, they use white flour. So this one in particular is with ground beef. And usually, like I said, they don't use a lot of ground beef. So they just cook it with a little bit of seasoning, and then they usually cut up some peppers to put in there as well. And sometimes they put onions. These in particular don't have onions, but these are really good. It's a nice thick shell, and then you've got your meat on the inside. And that's really good. Oh my goodness, yeah. So, like I said, it's a much thicker shell, and it's not quite crunchy except around the edges, and it's a little bit softer in the center when you get here to this part of the corn part. So that's really quite delicious. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of things, 3 things that are unique to Yucatan cuisine. And so this first one is actually one of my personal favorites, and this is called Polcan. So Polcan, Polcan. And these, again, these are made with corn, and these shells are actually crunchy, and they are soft on the inside. This one is filled with lechon as well, and so that's the pork that's been roasted, and it's got the skin here on top, the crunchy skin, and then you put your pickled onions on there. So think of this is more, if you think of like a stuffed pita type thing, but it's nice and thick, and it's hard, it's crunchy on the outside. So let's take a bite of this one. I'm totally gonna miss that. Those are so good. I've never had some of these dishes and never had heard of some of these before, and I'm a huge Mexican food fan. But Polcan is something you definitely have to try. There's something about that crunchy shell with a little bit soft in the middle, and then depending on what you choose to put inside, it really, the flavor just kind of injects itself right into the lid of it. Really, really delicious. Now, here's another one that's very Yucatan. So this is a traditional panucho. Again, this is something that you're mainly going to see only in Yucatan. And so, looks like a tostada, kind of. Except what they do is, when they make the shell, they actually put some beans inside. So there's actually a layer of black beans in the middle. And they consume a lot more black beans here in Yucatan than in other parts of the country. So this panucho is kind of a traditional one, and it's made with what's called Relleno Negro, which is like, basically translates to black filling. And so what they do is they take turkey and pork and a mix of different kinds of chilies, and they kind of mix it all together, and that's what this is here. And then they put eggs on top, and sometimes they even put avocado on top. And then what they do is they take that juice. Let's see if I can open this bag now. My hands are a little bit greasy. But you're gonna open it up, and you're gonna have that, pour it right on top. All those delicious juices. And now we're gonna try that out. Okay, so like I said, this is kind of like a tostada type feel, but it has the filling inside the shell. Oh. The flavor is super strong. Like when you take that bite, and it's not spicy. It has a tiny bit of a twinge to it, but it's not spicy really at all. It's gonna make a giant mess when you're eating it. So just keep in mind you're gonna want a lot of napkins nearby, but it is so good. So good. And like I said, they serve it a little bit different in different parts of Yucatan, but the Relleno Negro in particular is very popular in the month of November when they're celebrating a Mayan festival. So that's when you're going to see it a lot in specialties in different restaurants. Okay, moving on. So this panucho here, and I think you can kind of see it on this one. You can kind of see where this is dark here. And that's where the filling has been put in. So that's the black filling of the black beans. And then this again is lechon. And this one in particular is, so this one is basically like, you know, again, like this one here, but I've chosen just to have pork on top of it. And the edges will be crunchy. So good. Now, the last one is a torta, which is a sandwich, essentially. Now, the bread is going to be kind of like a baguette, like a cross between a baguette and like a Cuban bread, kind of a mix between those two as far as taste. Now, what they do is, this in particular is Cochinita pibil, which is a specialty again here in the Yucatan. And what they do is they roast the pork, and then they put with citric juices like this. And then what they do is they put annatto seeds in there, which come from the achiote plant. So it's got kind of an orange, kind of color to it. So they take the annatto seeds and they just keep pouring it over the top, make it really, really juicy. And then you can get it right here into a sandwich. And then let's take a bite of it, even though I know what it tastes like. Yes. Now, normally you would put this, if you ate it at a restaurant, this sauce would already be on the bread. So it's kind of like, it's like when you're eating an Italian beef sandwich in Chicago, and they would take the bread and they wet it, and then they put the meat inside. That's usually what you get if you're eating it in a restaurant. Now, if you order it to go, they separate it because obviously it's going to turn to total mush by the time you get home. So That's why they separate it out into these little baggies. And yes, this is how they serve it. This particular red sauce here, it's kind of like a tomato-based sauce, and they use it with their empanadas. They serve it with the empanadas. They serve it with a little bit of this red sauce on top, tomato kind of sauce, and then the pickled onions on top as well. So lots of incredible food here. I'm going to put the names down below because I know it's hard to figure all that out, but check these out. If you're in Yucatan, you definitely want to try these out. You're going to get these in their truest form in this particular state. You might be able to see it in other places or even in the US. I've been to a lot of Mexican restaurants all over the country, and I've never seen any of these items offered before, any of the Yucatan specialties offered in other Mexican restaurants in the States. So I was really surprised to see these and to see something completely new and to be able to try something completely different than what I had before. So hopefully this was very interesting to you guys as it was to me. Hope you guys enjoy it. And if you are in the state of Yucatan or near it, definitely zip on in here and try these out. You will not be disappointed.